Hey guys, welcome to Geek Out. This is our weekly show where we sit down and we geek out about hot topics in nerd culture, such as anything to do with movies, video games, or just anything, we really like to talk about. I'm Steve.
I'm Jason.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Mike.
And we're going to sit down now for the next little bit and we're going to geek out about a few topics that have sparked our interest this week. And yeah, guys, what's been going on this week?
There's been tons of stuff going on this week. A lot of stuff, even recently. So,
actually, Mike, before you start, man, I don't want to cut you off. Actually, I do just want to quickly start the show off on a sad note. Unfortunately, we lost a great man this week.
Oh yeah,
Wes Craven. Unfortunately, we lost him. Unbelievable guy. And before we just get into nerd culture, obviously, I know that he kind of played the portrayal of the master, the king of horror films. So I just wanted to say rest in peace, and we lost a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wes Craven was a critical part of '90s or '80s culture with the Nightmare series, Nightmare on Elm Street. When I was a kid, that was the movie that you tried to sneak and watch, right? And then further into my teens, when the Scream series came out, I mean, just an amazing series that kind of was poking fun at itself, right? Kind of poking fun at what happened in the '80s with these horror movies at the same time as being a horror movie. It was really, a big blow to the horror movie industry, which, is still going strong these days because of movies like that. So
absolutely, definitely raised the bar for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for bringing that up too, Chris. And like Chris said, rest in peace to a horror icon. I know a lot of my friends are pretty sad because just horror fans in general.
I hope he's up there having a drink with Leonard Nimoy as we speak.
That's right. Two big losses this year.
Don't forget Robin Williams. Anyways, carry on, guys. Mike, go to it.
So basically, what I'm just going to bring up really quickly is a bit of Apple news coming out of Apple. Obviously, we're getting to that time of year. I know, Chris, this is a big favorite topic, and Steve as well. Jason, I'm sorry. You can just sit quietly as we speak.
Don't worry. You'll get your Google News later, Jason.
Please just sit quietly.
We got something. We got something coming up for Jason. No more.
So Apple announced that they're finally going to be refreshing the Apple TV, which, for anybody out there who owns an Apple TV or has owned one of the previous iterations of the Apple TV, Chris Dobson, that's not surprising whatsoever. I have an Apple TV. It's a great device. It's how I primarily rent my movies on demand. I love using it to listen to music when I'm having a house party and things like that. It's a great device and no better option in my mind for streaming YouTube and Netflix. It's simply got the best interface when it comes to stuff like that with a grid-style layout. Now, Apple announced what's really surprising about the Apple TV is how inexpensive it is. It's 109 Canadian. I think it's like 99 or even less in the US right now. They announced this new Apple TV is going to be in the range of 150 to 200 US dollars. Yep. And immediately bells went off in my head saying, you know what? The one thing you can't do on Apple TV, which is ironic for an Apple device, is access the App Store. More particularly, all of those amazing free games that take up so much of my time on my iPhone.
Yep.
And I have a very strong hunch and have been reading online that there's a pretty big possibility that Apple is going to be including access to at least the gaming section of the App Store and allowing you to purchase those 99-cent, $1.29 games. And they are including a new remote that uses their new Force Touch technology, which to me just screams this could be Apple's foray into a serious casual gaming device.
Well, there's rumors too that they're talking about like peripheral editions down the road as well. So it's
really big Bluetooth support. And listen, Apple has the developers; they have them all, and and they have a library. If they make it compatible with even half of the games that are in the App Store, you'll never see a gaming machine launch with so many titles ever. It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, considering how spectacularly I think Android has failed to get into the gaming market with like the NVIDIA Shield or the Ouya or any of that stuff has just not worked out well for them. Yeah. And that could be just because like Google hasn't developed like their own dedicated Android thing. But I mean, think too about like Nintendo's entry into smartphone gaming.
Yes, actually Jason, there's a little fun fact. Nintendo launched one of their first games today. Pokemon, one of the Pokemon games. I don't know if this
Jason's probably already beat it.
Yeah, Jason, I know you collected them
clearly,
all, but anyway, so yeah, that game came out today on iOS and Android. So Nintendo's definitely making inroads, and we'll see. It would be really interesting to see like partnerships start to form. It'll be interesting to see how they handle content from prime developers like Nintendo and EA and those companies. But all that being said, I'm just hoping to play some Angry Birds on my 55-inch TV. That's really
forget Angry Birds, man. How badass is Infinity Blade 3 going to look on your television?
Oh my god,
right?
man,
Like
I
it's
can't
going to
wait.
be epic,
well,
right?
there definitely is to that point. You've always been able to like mirror your screen from an iPad over to an Apple TV. It's had some lag issues and control issues and things like that. So hopefully Apple's been taking their sweet time, and they have, because this Apple TV hasn't been updated in about 5 years. So it'll be interesting.
You got to remember too, obviously, by bringing in an app store and the ability to do this, there's going to be flash memory on this thing. There's going to be storage on it.
Yeah.
Regardless to how big that's going to be, but there is going to be some storage.
There's going to be some, but I think we're going to see streaming content, and I think with the advent of things like iCloud and that type of online storage, Apple has already really blazed a trail when it comes to that type of thing.
Well, they already have a controller pretty much in everybody's house right now, and that's the iPhone. And there's been rumors for years now that there was going to be some type of connection between the Apple TV and the iPhone in terms of maybe like a Bluetooth controller application that would be downloaded onto the device, and then you can control it through Bluetooth. But I'm pretty excited about this because, like you said, Chris, I am friggin' stoked to play Infinity Blade on my TV.
Well, they already have the Bluetooth remote app for your phone to run your Apple TV as it is anyway. So you're right, Steve. I mean, it's just it's just a matter of tweaking some stuff because you know it's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And like you said, Mike, this is a very lucrative move if Apple does this, because I mean, Apple is there's no contender for the casual games out there. Maybe the DS, but it's two different platforms.
Completely.
For a device that's in everybody's pocket day in and day out, there's absolutely no contender to the App Store.
I think the problem too is there's a severe lack of. I want to say it like I'll probably take some flack for this, but I think there's a lack of a lot of really good gaming content on mobile devices. Like, I don't know about you guys, I don't mind playing casual games sometimes on my phone, but like the controller or the phone is like a shit device to play it. Like, I can't play emulators on my phone or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you're talking mainstream style games, then I tend to agree completely. Even like arcade style games, some of them get away with a definite mobile style, gaming. But games like some of these runners that have come out, the first ones are kind of like, whatever. But some of them have become actually really amazing. Like the one that comes to my mind is the Sonic the Hedgehog runner from Sega. It plays like a Sonic the Hedgehog game should play. Mm-hmm. In fact, it plays better than most of the freaking Sonic the Hedgehog games that have come out in the last 10 years. So I think those games will translate really well to the big screen.
Well, I want to see this too with the addition of Game Center as well. How great would it be if, as an example, you're on your phone, you run to the shitter, you've got your phone with you, you're in the middle of playing Sonic the Hedgehog, Mike. When the game's over, no, I'm just saying it's the truth. And then when that's done, how sweet would it be to be able to walk back to your living room and possibly pick up where you left off?
Yeah, kind of like what PlayStation does with the Vita.
Yeah,
I feel like you've touched on the most important aspect of this. The people that play games while they take a shit, they're the ones that they're really going to benefit.
It's a problem.
Especially Sonic. Anyway,
that's
either way, looking forward to that event. I'm waiting for the announcement.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for that Apple
Chris,
event.
I think you had some extra Apple stuff you'd like to touch on, didn't you?
Well, it's actually it's not that. I mean, obviously you're going to get your big releases, right? So everybody who's been waiting and not using demo versions of things like iOS 9, it's going to be launched to the general public. Also, El Capitan comes out. I have run both. Obviously, I'm still running the developer version of iOS 9 now on my phone. I have not had any problems with my iPhone 6 running it. I mean, Beta 1 was a little shady at best, just like any other iOS beta I've run for the last 3 or 4 now. Battery's complete shit on it. But now, honestly, it runs flawlessly, and I can't wait so that everybody gets a chance to experience this.
So what's really interesting about what you just said and what kind of piques my interest about Apple is that they're lining themselves up for a very strong end-of-year kind of quarter, along with their natural release of iDevice, maybe we'll see a new iPod this year. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's dead.
Well, they just relaunched the new iPod like a month or 2 ago.
Yeah, they sort of did, but there's big, obviously their main focus lately has been what I'm talking about relaunching iPod. I mean, like, are we going to get? It used to be that they would release the iPod Touch was essentially an iPhone without the phone.
That's exactly what it was.
And we haven't seen a large screen version. We haven't seen, are they going to do something like that? It'd be interesting, especially if they release this gaming console, shall we call it.
What we haven't even touched on too quickly is the fact that obviously, I mean, the big announcement, the iPhone 6S and then the 6S Plus, I mean, those are going to be released. A lot of their specs, obviously, and I'm not going to get into it. I mean, they're all over the internet right now.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Apple and their events now, although I'm starting to think that this is a scam and they do it every time.
Do you remember the days when they could keep a secret? Do you remember those days?
Remember how solid their secrets used to stay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's pretty amazing.
Back when they'd threaten people's lives if they'd leak? Yeah, I can remember it quite highly.
Yeah. Anyway, Apple looks like they're going to have a strong, at least in terms of release of product and software. So here's hoping that we have a new entry.
What's going to be interesting is that literally last week their stock was down to the lowest it's ever been too, right? For those people playing the market. I mean, again, it's a matter of time. And of course, Tim Cook took a little heat there for a conversation for an email he may have sent to a reporter regarding some stuff over in China. But either way, bottom line is that the stock's not going to stay down long. I mean, they're about to, especially if the information that we keep hearing over the internet is accurate, Apple stock's probably going to fly through the roof here shortly.
When has the internet ever lied, right?
It doesn't lie.
Ever.
It doesn't. It's actually part of, it just has to be facts.
Moving on to a bit of news that, since we're kind of in the home mobile section here right now, we're talking about iOS. One thing that I'm kind of excited about, now this is all based on what kind of designs they come into later on in the future, but Android Wear is available on iOS. Now, that's not, for anybody watching, that is not the Samsung Gear. This is Android Wear, so this is like the LG, the Huawei, the
Motorola,
the other shitty,
Motorola,
stupid looking,
probably the biggest one. And Motorola, to their credit, has had some pretty nice designs. Maybe not functionally, but in terms of look and style.
Did you know that here in Canada, you can only purchase right now one Android Wear device, and that's the one by LG. All the other ones you can't get your hands on anymore. Which,
they also told me I couldn't get my hands on an Apple Watch in Canada, and well.
Okay.
But you didn't, Chris. You didn't get it in Canada.
One thing to mention.
Fair.
One thing to mention is that anybody who is planning to use or to utilize this with like an LG watch or a Motorola watch or whatever the hell you're going to have on your wrist, it's not obviously going to have the same like ingrained functionality that an Apple Watch would have. Obviously, it is going to have a lot of the same functions, such as you're going to be able to get your notifications on it. You're going to be able to still do some health stuff on it. It is only first-party apps that are going to be available on Android Wear from that are going to be compatible with the devices. Third-party apps are not available.
So like your Google Hangouts and stuff, Steve, is that
Google Hangouts, Gmail, anything first party from Google are going to be the apps that are going to work with the Android Wear.
Makes sense.
And things like health and stuff like that are still going to work. But unlike with other devices like the Samsung Gear and the iPhone, there's no third party apps that are going to be available to be used on Android Wear. But you'll still be able to customize the faces and things like that.
What's the cost of these watches?
They're a little bit more cost effective than some of the other watches that are out there, but they're still
they're still pricey, Chris.
They're still around the 250, 300.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think if you're an Apple user and you're looking for a smartwatch and you're not looking at the Apple Watch, like there's something wrong in your head. So if you're an Android user, this is old news to you, and you guys are on to the 10th generation of Android watches already. So It's interesting to see Samsung with their new some of their new round face watches that are coming out. I
Some
don't
of
know
them are sharp.
yeah, they've been photos leaking all over the place, and anyway, I mean,
Quickly, before we switch on to the subject, I'm going to ask you guys. I mean, I know, Jason, you've made it pretty apparent in one of our articles that you wrote on the website months ago. I mean, what's your guys' take on smartwatches? I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you like them?
I think personally, I could see me using an Apple Watch. Like, I use my iPhone primarily for work purposes, and I receive tons and tons and tons of notifications. And just the act of taking my phone out of my pocket, unlocking it to see what that notification was, in the business that I'm in, is really not an easy thing to do. And if I had it on my wrist, I would just be able to simply glance down at my wrist and see if it's something important. I could deal with it. If it's not, I can put it off. And plus, I'd be able to send you little heart-shaped things to your
That's what it'd
wrist.
be all
Chris.
about, man. I would just draw you flowers.
I
all
know,
day.
all day long,
all day.
Happy faces and other things.
I'd probably send you a couple doc photos.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
My argument to this, just before we let Jason loose onto this, was recently I had sat down, and me and you, Chris, actually talked about it. I recently sat down and debated the cost of actually getting a smartwatch. I decided to go with a G-Shock watch because it's tougher, it's better. You can get these where they do have Bluetooth notifications.
And in case you're watching G-Shock, send Steve a check. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I just look at it. If you're someone who is rough with their watches like me, you definitely don't want to invest a lot of money.
What are you doing with watches? Like, I don't understand.
I wear this everywhere. So like if I'm like recently, like I've been clearing out a lot of my things in the house that I'm living in, and so like moving stuff back and forth, this gets beat up around, it gets
Sure.
might be pinned up against a wall or something like that, and I don't want to spend $400 or $500 on a watch that is probably going to be destroyed. Like, this thing can take a beating. So until watches get a little bit more in the range where when you go to a watch store, you have watches there for everybody. Until it gets to that point, I think smartwatches are kind of a gimmick. I'm kind of on Jason's side when it comes to smartwatches because I don't think they're there yet. Also, they still require this, and
that's my biggest complaint about a smartwatch. Like, you need a phone to run it.
Yeah,
but that's
crazy.
a bullshit excuse.
Yeah, but you have a phone.
Your phone's in your fucking pocket anyway.
Yeah, like,
but
you
if
have a phone.
Okay, I have a phone. Why do I need another $500 device that does the exact same thing
Convenience.
that my phone does?
I'm just gonna chime in because I own a smartwatch, and I've made it very clear. And internets, you need to know, I bought this watch originally strictly for cosmetic purposes. Unfortunately, I'm that asshole. It came in a fucking sweet box. It had an Apple logo on it. I mean, I don't think it's a secret. Everybody out there who knows me knows I have shiny box syndrome. If it's shiny and in a box, I buy it.
All the best things come in a sweet, shiny box, buddy.
But ultimately, I can tell you guys, realistically, I use this watch every day.
Yeah.
It is used, like, small things, like you said, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Chris and I have talked about this. Like, I said to him, is it worth it? And at first, the first time I asked you that, you said, I'm not sure. And then I saw you. Yeah, exactly. And I asked him again later, and the answer was totally like, and I started to see it while I was just chatting with you. You were able to just glance at your wrist, and you're like, oh, it's nothing big. Don't worry.
Like my email, the only glances, like I can tell you right now, my work, I have my work email set up as a glance. So if my work emails me, I look over, it actually shows up on my watch. Now, that being said, I can't reply to an email yet, but that fix is coming with WatchOS in the fall, which is actually also going to be announced in a couple days.
See, I find this is a problem too with the watch market, is that they, like we said, they're just not there yet. And I wonder if it's going to be very much like tablets, which are kind of, slowly going the way of the downward spiral.
I think, actually, Jason, what we're waiting to see is that tech companies are making smart watches, but watch companies are playing the catch up to what,
Agreed.
like, they're the ones who make the quality product. And it's interesting to note, Fossil just announced their first smartwatch, which, once you start to see those high caliber brands, mass market high caliber brands, start to adopt these types of interfaces and technology, that allows you to get more out of your watch than just simply the time and the date. You know, like as soon as you start to see that, I think you're going to see a convergence happen, and
But that's
it's just we're early, right?
I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen too. Like I think battery technology probably needs to be a little bit better, which will probably come with time.
I will say this.
Fingers up.
No, I'm just telling you honestly, because that was my biggest concern buying this watch. Was I read the reviews, battery on it was shit. I can tell you, I charge my watch every night on my nightstand with my phone. By the time I go to bed at night to plug my phone back in and plug my watch back in, it's usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock my time. And there's still about 37 to 40% left on my watch battery for the day.
Yeah, that's good. And quite frankly, you don't, like, when you're not looking at your watch, it's not on, right?
No,
it's
not at all.
basically sleeping or whatever. And the sensors on it, I love that. You lift it up to your face and it turns on.
Yeah.
think-
What's your take, Steve? I know we keep cutting you off there, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh no. I like the point that Mike made up that the watch companies actually need to get into this because, like, and I love this watch. Like, I just love this. It's the best watch I've ever owned.
we can tell.
Casio is the one that makes the G-Shock, and I mean they are known around the world as being some of the toughest watches out there. I mean,
Calculator watch, bud.
Yes,
Calculator
like
watch.
Casio's been around. Casio's been around for years, so I mean, when a company like that gets into the game, you know, they know that they're going to want to appeal to the customers like myself who want a tough watch.
Yep.
So, and I mean, it is a big watch, but it's a tough watch. So I mean, when these companies actually get on the ball, they start bringing out these watches, and then they go maybe the way of like what Samsung's doing with its Gear S, which actually is bringing in a SIM card slot into the actual device. You know, that's when I think smartwatches are going to get into a little bit of a more, I guess, around where more people are going to want them.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I'm not going to be able to
They'll
get a watch that is going to be able to, that the screen is just going to shatter the first time I rub it up against a wall.
There'll come a time when that convergence happens between watchmakers and technology companies. And I'm willing to bet that soon one of the big companies gets in bed with one of the other big watch companies. And
Guaranteed.
there it is. And that's going to be it. That'll be all it wrote. And I bet you, I'm willing to bet that Apple's willing to put somebody's name on their watch.
Probably.
You better
Right?
believe
Beats
it.
by watch.
That's right. If they're willing to own Beats, they're willing to own other
I think-
brands too.
I think what's interesting is that, like, if you looked at the numbers for smartphone watches before Apple jumped in the game, they weren't very up there. Like, not everybody was buying
Right.
them. And I think it's kind of interesting that Apple has also been dodging answering the question of how many have we sold? How many have we actually put out to customers? They keep saying it's good, but I mean, that's, you know, the
Well, it's
Apple.
good enough that Best Buy is officially putting them in every location Best Buy sells. So I mean, things they
that's
have to
big.
be popular.
That's probably just because they have stock to put out outside of Apple now at this point.
Yeah.
But guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know, let us know what watch you're wearing, and if you think smartwatches are great, you know, down in the comments below.
and if
But
you
we're-
have an Apple Watch, send me your heartbeat.
yeah,
There you go. There you go.
Guys.
Chris gets to use his watch finally.
guys, let us know, you know, if you like this. But we're gonna move on to some gaming news. PAX happened this week.
PAX happened this week. Really interesting, and basically it's the fan get together. It's the Comic-Con of gaming. It's indie game lovers unite.
It's E3 without all the corporate bullshit.
That's true.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is, and I think that's what the intent was for this this gaming event. And this was PAX Prime, which happens over in Seattle in the summer, and then we also have the really big show in, I think it's late March, that they do it in Boston with PAX East, which is also now. Boys, they're pushing. I think they're 5 years old now, so it's interesting to see how much has taken off. And just fun fact, they've had a couple of other PAXs now, so they're doing PAX South down in Austin, Texas, which should be interesting. And they're going to be doing PAX in Australia somewhere too. I don't know too much about that one, but it seems to be fans of gaming are finally realizing, hey, we don't need some big, you know, corporate media, you know, it kind of cuts all the crap out and just here's the games. They're early. but we know you're fans. You know you're going to love them. Check them out.
Yeah.
And it just builds that. It's like a grassroots hype machine, and it really has taken off big time.
You don't get that really bad script that they do.
Yes, right.
But do you remember when
Ubisoft, I'm
E3
looking
used to be what PAX is now? E3 used to be all about the fans. Way back
it
when.
had some years of fans. I don't think that ever really worked so well for them, and I'm kind of glad they went back to the corporate style because they seem to do that better than in PAX. They're not opposed to things like a big room full of gaming rigs that you can play games on. Like they do it for the fans. It's like I said, it's like Comic-Con. It's like any of your big Comic-Con type events, but it's really focused on the gaming. And there's actually music there. It was one of the prime focuses for it as well. But this year there was some pretty cool stuff, guys, that was shown off. I'm more of an indie game fan, so I only have a couple to talk about. Nintendo pulled off a big indie gaming event, which is pretty kudos for them to really dive in. And Xbox actually had a pretty decent indie event as well. The one that I'm most excited for, I think, and I saw this back at E3 or maybe even just a little bit before E3, was Cuphead. It's this. It looks like a rail shooter type or side-scrolling shooter. Wasn't really sure what it was to begin with, really, and I guess I'm still not 100% because every time I see it, it seems just a little bit different than the time before. So, but it kind of looks like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I'd wake up early Saturday morning, and those cartoons that were on at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're like from 1952, and just a little freaky looking. It looks just like that, and it looks awesome. I mean, it's a very unique looking game, completely 100% original look. I don't think I've ever seen a game that looks like it before, so I'm really pumped to see that one come out. I don't know about you guys, what you guys saw.
Well, the first thing I'm going to bring up is, obviously, when you say something good, I'm going to bring up something that I don't like. For some people who don't own one already, it's great. Obviously, Microsoft announced their Xbox One Elite bundle.
Yes.
And I mean, we all own an Xbox One. They're putting in a 1 terabyte solid state drive, so here's a big fuck you.
It's a hybrid drive, not quite fully.
Yeah,
not
sorry,
fully,
I apologize.
but it has memory on it. There you go.
I don't give a flying fuck what they call it.
Either way, first of all, they're coming in with a 1 terabyte hybrid drive, and obviously they're coming with the Elite remote that comes with it, which standalone by itself is $150 to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't
Very
know
customizable though.
Plus-
that
plus-
controller is
it's crazy.
It boots 20% faster and resumes 20% faster.
Well, I'll tell you right now, every game I have is installed on an external drive on my USB 3.0 drive that I have plugged into my X1. And I can tell you right now, it runs faster than it did off the main drive from my Xbox One anyway.
The drive is one of the worst parts about the Xbox One.
Do you know why it runs so slow? It's a SATA 2 connector. It's a SATA 2 port on the internal drive, which is crazy.
I hooked up a 2 terabyte USB 3.0 drive to my X1, and I can tell you it runs smooth, it runs fast, and I'm okay with it. But to spend $499 on a new Xbox One Elite bundle, which comes with that controller that's $150 on its own.
Steve, I think you said it best earlier in the week when you were like, fuck Microsoft for making it this way. How come they couldn't do this right from the beginning, basically?
It's a big piss off of mine in gaming right now because, I mean, we all love gaming, and sorry guys, this is just something I'm passionate about because I hate it when people try to rip other people off, but this is just a fucking bullshit move that the companies are still doing, and I'm telling you right now, Xbox, if anybody from Xbox is listening, Sony has a one up on you when it comes to in terms of storage customability,
right?
Because they allow you, without voiding the warranty, to take the drive out of the PlayStation.
Which, let me just bring this back to a little topic we had before. You could do that on the Xbox 360.
You could do that on the Xbox 360.
So somebody explain to me what the hell happened this time around with the Xbox One.
It's just the Xbox Elite, not the controller, because I'll give the controller. The controller is definitely for the hardcore fans and people like Jason Howie who get pissed off with that little second delay when they're trying to move Batman around the
for
screen.
Jason, all they need to do is give Batman an extra grappling hook with a button in the back, and Howie's like, no, cool, I can justify that. That makes sense.
This is the system that should have. This is the Xbox One that should have been released
Yeah, it should have been.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know why you're so butthurt about it, because they do this. Like,
Yeah, it's
when
It's
you're
not a surprise.
when you're an early adopter of a product. I mean, and I'll say this: Sony may have removable storage, but both of them only have a 500 gig drive when you
True.
buy it straight out of the gate, which is
Agreed.
ridiculous.
It is
Yes,
ridiculous.
They should have went terabyte out of the box.
Yes, but Jason, here's the thing. In order for me to upgrade the internal drive on my Xbox, I have to go spend $500. In order for me to do it on my $500
But at the end of the
PlayStation
day,
4, I had to
why-
spend
does
a
it
just
really
one.
matter? I
Just
mean,
go buy an external drive.
yeah, external's running just as smooth.
I agree. And the only other thing I would say is that Sony also announced a terabyte PlayStation 4. So let's not get too overly.
But you gotta
Microsoft
remember
has 2 terabyte Xboxes now. They have the standard model, which is already out, that you can
Yeah.
buy with a terabyte drive.
Agreed.
Right.
With a
This
terabyte
one
SATA
is
2 connector.
And this one is a terabyte drive with the solid state hybrid component.
But you got to remember too. Remember when these consoles launched, boys? The piss off back then was that the Xbox was $100 more expensive than the PS4 was
Yeah.
at launch,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, so it was more expensive then. And I mean, you're going to get your PS4 versus your Xbox One conversation, so I don't want to get into that because
No.
we know how we stand. But ultimately, you look at the cost. So yeah, it's not a shocker that Microsoft's going to do this. There was some heavy rumors that Microsoft was going to launch an Xbox One Slim, which I believe they crushed.
Yeah, Phil Spencer came out and
Yeah.
was like, nope.
Not a chance. But ultimately, I just don't think anybody should be overly surprised.
Yeah.
Plus, it's the holiday. This is when they're going to announce like
got it.
bundles.
Of course,
Like-
yeah, and this is the thing. I mean, it's been 2 years, boys, since they released the original Xbox
Yeah.
One Day One edition. I was there,
Fuck, that makes me feel old.
and basically, we have a refresh happening. It happened. What, 3 times?
Yep.
4 times with the oh god, more than that. Even
I'd
with
say
the Xbox.
No, for sure.
Well, they had the Elite edition, which came. Remember, the Xbox 360 didn't have an HDMI port on it when it first launched.
Agreed.
It was
Yep.
component only. So they had the revision to the original one, and then they revised it again to the smaller without the fan in it, and it
But
used
don't
to sound
forget, in
like
between the Elite and the Red, there was the Elite, the Red Elite, which was a different one with a bigger hard drive as well.
And then they released it at the end of its life cycle. They had a third total revision, total change. It's unfortunate, but this happens, and I bet you eventually we'll all own one of the new ones. It's going to happen. I just guarantee it. Yeah.
I think the best thing to say to anybody who's listening, if you own an Xbox One right now, you don't need to buy this.
No.
If you don't own an Xbox One right now, you need to
wait.
buy this.
Yeah,
But if you're
buy this
thinking
one.
about buying that controller anyway, if you're going to spend the $150 on the controller, you
Yeah.
can make that call anyway.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
definitely
shiny
it's
box
definitely a
man.
good value. It's definitely a good value. I mean,
Yeah.
you are
Oh,
getting
yeah.
that beautiful controller.
Moving on.
It is
Oh.
aimed at new. Sorry, Mike. It is
No.
aimed obviously at the new market of Xbox users. that are coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah,
So
we beat this to death. Move on.
we're just going to move on really quickly to PlayStation had some news come out today about the update 3.0, which is sounding like it's going to be a significant change to the OS, or some new features are going to be added. The biggest one that I think, especially for us, where we're a bunch of gamers and we like streaming video content, being able to stream to YouTube gaming live off your device, that is a coup d'etat for Sony getting on board first, or at least announcing first that they're going to support that directly. So being able to stream, I mean, Twitch is a huge community, but Google has thrown the punch, basically saying they're coming, and they're coming hard at the gaming scene with an announcement at E3, a recent launch of YouTube gaming. From what I understand, it's a little convoluted in terms of how you get it up and running. But I mean, if you're already like a big time Twitch streamer or a big time tuber, YouTube gaming is a natural progression for you. It's for the up and comers, maybe like guys like us, when we decide that maybe, hey, we're going to sit down and record a live stream of us gaming out on some Diablo or something along those lines.
Soon to be Battlefront.
Yeah, soon to be Battlefront. Why not hit our core fans where they reside, which is on YouTube, and instead of bringing them all the way over to Twitch and trying to bring them back and forth, depending on the content that we're trying to deliver. I think Microsoft needs to get on board, and they need to do it like right now.
What are
You
your
know who
thoughts? Will YouTube gaming? Do you think they can?
I think they're going to look to make partnerships with every single gaming company that's out there, regardless of their
Oh,
affiliation.
yeah.
For sure.
They're going to try to make this big, and Google knows that they're not going to alienate. That's why they run YouTube, I think, as a separate entity to Google. It just has the Google algorithms for search built into it, and that's basically Google's extent and control. So
Just a quick note though, because now that we've just mentioned, I'm just going to mention this quickly, and then we'll move on to the thoughts about this. But someone who's not a fan of this apparently is Jimmy Kimmel.
I have heard.
That's unreal.
Guys,
yeah,
Right? Like
you guys
you're right. I was Jason had brought it up before we started shooting here, and I'm glad you brought it up because honestly, and I'm a fan of Kimmel. A lot of people aren't, but I am. And for those of you who don't know, Kimmel decided to make some comments regarding YouTube gaming on one of his shows during his monologue, I believe, basically advising him, in his opinion. Again, people apparently are not allowed to have opinions. But in his opinion, he said, "I don't get it. I don't understand why you would want to watch somebody play video games." In his opinion, he thought it was stupid. To which, obviously, comments started flooding in that basically were not nice toward him, even members of his family, basically wishing hurtful, harmful things on Jimmy Kimmel, which he did address later on his next show. It also had, at the time, had 52,000 dislikes. Now Jason's saying it's over 60,000. The most disliked video on his channel, and he's put out thousands of videos, he says. And he's even said, he's like, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing. He's like, if somebody wants to do it, invite me over. We'll watch video games together.
You know, and kudos to him for having an opinion about it. I do think it's a little strange a lot of these late night hosts have really found a new audience lately in YouTube clips. And I think that trail was blazed by The Daily Show years ago before they pulled their content.
Agreed.
But most recently, I think Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, there's a couple of other...
Conan,
huge, yeah, right? Like, huge.
Isn't it weird that Jimmy Kimmel can go on and say he thinks people watching people play video games is stupid, but Conan's Clueless Gamer whole bit is that he doesn't even fucking get gaming, and yet...
But I think it's just the intent of the comments that were different.
The way
and I think,
does it.
Here's what I have to say to Jimmy Kimmel and anybody who thinks this way. Are you a sports fan? Do you sit at home and watch baseball? Is it much more fun to watch baseball when you're actually in a baseball stadium? So to me, watching people play video games is no different than me.
He addressed that exact scenario. Someone said, he's like, well, why would I watch football instead of going to a football game? And he said himself, he's like, you know what? You're right. Watching football is stupid, and I'm an idiot.
Exactly.
And my buddies who are with me are also idiots. So that's why he said, he's like, maybe we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's no different than me sitting down and watching a sports game.
It's just old stereotypes coming through. And it's kind of the thing that geeks like us have had to deal with at some point in our lives. And thankfully right now, geeks kind of rule. So...
But again,
we have a voice.
He has an opinion. Fuck, guys, relax. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jason?
That's the real takeaway is, like, don't shit on him or his family.
Yeah.
Or, like,
that's just terrible.
I don't want to get severely political, but this is no different than, like, Gamergate shit or anything like that. Like, it's when the community bands together to, like, shit all over somebody, it makes us look terrible.
Yeah,
we look like assholes.
Yeah, it fulfills the stereotype for sure.
We're gonna backtrack it a little bit to where this all started. We're gonna talk about YouTube gaming and Twitch, guys. I honestly think that, and a lot of people don't necessarily think this. I've been reading a few articles that people don't really think that Google has anything like to really gain in this world because Twitch pretty much owns the market. I say, watch out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think they've awoken a sleeping giant here, and that's gonna just kind of come in and crush with their...
But people don't really... It's Google. It doesn't matter who owns it. Like you said, they have no business doing it. It doesn't make a difference.
Here's the crazy thing. Isn't Twitch linked to your Google ID already? Isn't that one of the crazy things somebody has said?
Didn't they?
It's like really ridiculously easy to switch back to YouTube gaming.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like Twitch uses like the APK or API that allows you to use your credentials from Google to log in and create an account quickly. But what's really interesting, and here's where the difference I think is going to be, is Google's going to bring some money to the table through advertising.
Guaranteed.
And Twitch doesn't really do that for you. You can definitely get your own sponsorships and things like that, like, old school podcasting style. But they're not offering you money just to simply be on their platform, unless you're one of the really big ones creating, AAA quality type stuff for them. But I think Google, when they're willing to give you part of their ad revenue, I mean, that's going to buy your gaming console. That's going to buy the cameras. That's going to buy the microphones. That's going to buy the airtime and the bandwidth and things like that.
We need to get on this, guys. We need
to.
Boys, if I ever gave you a business idea, there it is right there. I mean, I like playing video games, and if I can make money doing it, hell,
it's fair.
I'm in.
I mean, you've already got. I mean, you've got some heavy hitters who are already trying to adopt this. I mean, Philip DeFranco, for example, is already starting to adopt this into his Super Panic Frenzy video game channel. And I mean, then you have people like PewDiePie, who has already made a truckload of money doing it just on YouTube.
Probably somebody who consulted with about how do we do this? How do we make this a community?
Oh, exactly. So
I think Google is righting some wrongs right now with YouTube and their Google Plus commenting system and things like that, all taking a backseat. And it'll be interesting to see where they put the money right now.
Yeah, and I mean, what I say to anybody, if you think that the biggest online streaming service cannot compete with something that just came out a few years ago,
Google has the money to do whatever
if they don't like
want.
You, they'll buy you. It's basically
that's crazy. Remember when Google was going to buy Twitch, and then suddenly they're like, "Whoa, wait."
Change their
maybe we can do this ourselves.
Yeah. Pretty much, right?
But we'd love to know what you guys' thoughts are. I mean, obviously, are you a Twitch user? And if you are, would you ever contemplate switching over to YouTube gaming? Either way, let us know.
Yeah, let us know, guys. Like I said, you're watching this on YouTube, let us know down below. But guys, I can't really think of some anything else that happened this week. I saw some cool trailers this week.
Yeah, you know what? There was definitely a lot of content released this week, and I know our episode is a little bit all over the place, but sometimes you just need to get together and geek out.
Well, this is what it's about. Just quickly, one trailer that I'll just geek out about right now. A movie that I'm really stoked to see is the new adaptation of Macbeth. If you guys haven't seen the trailer, it stars Michael Fassbender. It is done in the Old English, so the same style as Shakespeare did. But I'm a big Shakespeare fan anyway, so I like seeing renditions of his books. But this one is really true to the source material in terms that it's not like Romeo and Juliet, Leonardo DiCaprio taking place in the modern world. It actually takes place in medieval, and it looks badass.
But Romeo and Juliet, let's not kid ourselves, was actually a pretty solid fucking movie.
It was a good movie.
It was well done.
It was
never seen it.
It's actually pretty good.
It's actually a really good.
Plus, it's Fassbender, so it's got to be great.
If we want to talk Shakespeare, I'm going to throw this out there. I've owned Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing for like 2 years, and I haven't watched it yet.
I seen in a store Star Wars retold as Shakespeare. So
yeah.
Maybe I'll get on some of that.
Let's geek out about Shakespeare, boys.
There you go. Yeah.
And just quickly on the Star Wars front, we did get a small trailer.
Fuck, are you kidding me right now?
This year, no.
Are you kidding
We
me
almost
right
made
now?
it. We almost made it.
You know what? Right here, Vader. Vader is my homeboy.
Hey,
right there.
look up behind me. But we did get a small snippet of a trailer that did show John Boyega holding Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber.
Finally got the segue to bring in Vader.
There it is. Vader is my homeboy.
So, but yeah, guys, there's a lot of movies coming out in the fall. We got our first sneak peek. Speaking of Fassbender, we got our first sneak peek this past week of Fassbender dressed in his Assassin's Creed garb, and that's one thing I want to ask you guys. I know the three of you guys aren't huge Assassin's Creed fans like I am, but he's putting a lot of effort into this movie from what I've been reading in a lot of articles. And what's your guys' take on kind of like where video game movies are going to go? Because I mean, with the success of comic book movies now, it seems like video games have kind of been in the background a little bit.
Yeah. I think if you look at the Assassin's Creed movie, for example, I'm pretty sure Ubisoft is whispering in the director's ear what they need to do, because they said it's connected to their game universe specifically. But it's interesting too. Borderlands announced a movie deal this week as well. So it's like, I don't know.
Although I don't know how that's going to translate.
No, I mean that's just
that's a yeah.
Like, here's what's interesting. Video games are an interactive medium.
They need J.J. Abrams on it.
Movies are not, and I think that's where it's hard to really translate that interactiveness over to the big screen. It's really hard to fit a 14-hour game of story into
which has 14 different storylines running concurrently. You know, like I don't know.
Here's what I'm going to say.
His fingers up our way of like segueing.
Here's what I'm going to say, because I just saw that and you guys are probably going to know where I'm going to go with this as soon as I say the name. Mortal Kombat. I just saw a Blu-ray actually out in Walmart with the first 2 Mortal Kombat movies, and probably the greatest. I'm going to come out here and say that the greatest video game adaptation ever, which was the Mortal Kombat Legacy show that was released on YouTube. They actually have a 3-pack, which is 2 movies and this show. To me,
gonna have to disagree with you, Steve.
Oh,
it was good. Legacy was good.
I'm not saying it wasn't good, but to say it was the greatest ever.
To me, it is one of the greatest video game adaptations.
I'll give you the greatest video game movie adaptation.
I don't think I'm also going to say it. I don't think video games work as movies. I think they work better as television shows.
What are you going to say, Steve or Jason? What are you going to say?
Greatest video game movie adaptation.
Didn't
I think
we have this conversation 2 weeks
we
ago?
We did.
3 weeks
We're
ago?
rehashing Silent Hill.
Well, mine's not an adaptation, but the greatest video game movie ever, Christopher.
The Wizard?
The Wizard.
First movie I ever saw in theaters.
There you go.
No lie. Gimme, Jimmy
I could get into a huge conversation about what I find wrong about Silent Hill.
We're not
gonna. I will give you in order to in recreating an atmosphere from a video game. Yes, Silent Hill did it in spades. As for story,
big fan of Tomb Raider.
The second one though, not so much. But the first
one definitely recreated the game itself perfectly. As for the story, I didn't like the fact that they changed a lot of the characters. And yes, I'm going to play this card. They changed a lot of characters to females, but they had the exact same story.
Well, the Silent Hill movie adapts like 3 of the games into one movie. So,
but they did a good job of it. But I still think Mortal Kombat's perfect.
Here's a fun fact. Do you guys know which video game movie actually has like the highest profitability, the highest box office return?
Nope.
Super Mario Brothers.
That's what I was going to say.
It starred the wonderful Jake Gyllenhaal.
Prince of Persia. I called it the other day.
Prince of Persia.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that was
nice.
probably one of my favorite movies.
Another Ubisoft movie.
See, I brought that up last time, and everyone was like, "Oh, I didn't even think of Prince of Persia."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Lastly, I just want to mention that epic Halo 5 trailer.
Oh, the cinematic was unbelievable.
I
if
missed
you haven't seen it, pause our podcast, go watch it.
I'm pausing right now. I'm out.
You just leave.
But guys, this is we're trying out this format now, so I hope you guys really like it. Leave us a comment down below on YouTube and when we post it up on Facebook and whatnot. But subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give us a like, because that does help us get money from YouTube eventually.
52,000 dislikes, so we have something to fucking talk about.
50,000 dislikes. Give us that.
That's something. It's something.
Yes. But please
52,000 people tried to watch it.
Please like, share, subscribe. Leave us a comment down below if you think we're a bunch of assholes, if you think we're a bunch of great guys, if you like this format, if you don't like this format. Any criticism is fine.
Or if you just think Steve's an asshole, just let us know.
Or if you just think I'm an asshole. But guys, thanks for geeking out with us again this week, and we'll see you guys next week.